Hello, adventurers. I hit the wrong screen. Pay no attention to that.
Oh,
it's been
I was about
been
to
a
say,
day.
whoa, are people joining us?
It's been a day, y'all. Okay. Hello, adventurers. My name is Maximus, and I'm here with Moves Like Jagger from the GGN crew, and Bunny Dreadful, who's joining us for our Tome of Knowledge for today. The theme of today, the topic of today, is D&D Honor Among Thieves, or D&D Hat, I guess, if you want to abbreviate it. We're gonna be talking about the movie.
This is gonna be spoilers, right?
It is gonna be spoiler heavy,
mega. All
super
of it.
mega ultra spoilers.
Can we do a quick chat about what we thought about it that's spoiler free, and then people can leave after that?
Maybe if I'd thought about that beforehand.
I
Because
can
my notes are all over the place.
Oh, well, sorry. I'll stop interrupting with ideas.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought the podcast was where we just get to say whatever we want.
Sure, we can.
I mean,
all right.
Technically, yeah.
All right.
But the important thing to talk about is April 21st. That's 2 weeks from now. In
April
some change.
21st?
Less than 2 weeks.
11, 11 sleeps, I think.
You know,
April 21st, next Friday. Not this Friday. Next Friday. Campaign 2 is unleashed upon the world. And I'd like to applaud to Moobs for editing that little video.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Ooh, we've got an announcement video up for anyone who hasn't seen it yet.
Max for being the camera guy.
What's really funny
season 2
is the director's notes that I'd gotten after I'd taken a couple takes, that it was Moobs was like, I wish you'd smiled more. It's like, I just wish you smiled.
He doesn't smile.
You did at the end, so it was good.
If we're not live, he's not smiling. That's his secret. That's how he maintains all the energy for stream. Yeah. Not even when he's petting the dogs. Not even on his birthday.
Just pan face. Just
straight faced all the time.
I don't have a birthday.
I thought you were gonna say I don't have a smile. I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't have one of those either. But in all seriousness, April 21st, 6 p.m. Campaign 2. Boom. Watch it. Write it in your diary. Second thing is, if you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, you should do that, because I'll feel a lot better about myself.
We're getting really close to 1,000.
Yes.
What is it? What's our next? And if we get to 1,000,
then YouTube will love us.
Then we'll eat chicken.
We're gonna eat some chicken soup sandwiches.
Yeah.
On stream.
This is true.
Maybe not live. We might have to just record it, and then I don't know.
And everyone projectile vomits.
We'll just feed the leftovers.
That bad.
I love it.
It's just chicken.
Not gonna be that bad.
And some bread.
They're gonna be weird. They're gonna be weird.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. We're at 924 subs.
Yes.
We're getting there.
We'll get there with your help. Please help us.
Please help us. Please help.
I don't know why I wrote that in my notes, but I did.
It just says, please help.
Yep.
Just an empty page.
Like,
please help.
I hope no one finds that notebook. It's like, please help. What happened here?
What happens when they get 1,000?
Also, I think Bun, you have some messages for our audience.
I have some messages for y'all. At the end of the month, our store will be closing down temporarily, but when the store closes down, you will no longer be able to buy Sweet Justice merch. Sweet Justice merch? What is that, you say? Well, got notebooks, really nice notebooks, spiral bound.
Cool stickers.
With the Sweet Justice logo. We've got cool stickers.
Little donut, little Sweet Justice sword.
You can put them on anything you want. So technically, we have every merch, because you can put stickers on anything. But if you want pre-stickered items, we also have this mug pre-stickered for your enjoyment.
That mug is not a sticker, by the way. It's printed on there.
Perfect for hot beverages. Yeah. Perfect for cold beverages. Dishwasher safe. Everything tastes better out of a Sweet Justice mug.
Or like me, and lukewarm beverages. It's good for those too.
Sure. You know what? You could put cereal in it, candy, whatever you want. Doesn't even have to be a beverage.
And
hold pencils. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we have shirts.
Exactly the same.
Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
Sweet justice. So if you want any of these items, you are running out of time. I know it's short notice. Sorry if you were waiting for like that next paycheck, but try to get it now because we don't know if they'll be coming back ever because we have to make way for the new merch for season 2. So get your sweet justice loot and
2 weeks and 1 day
so-
left.
yeah, 2 weeks and 1 day.
And then it'll be gone forever. Forever and ever.
Forever.
With an asterisk.
And asterisks for what?
Well, you know, maybe you never know. Like Disney always closes the vaults and then they open the vaults. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, maybe.
I'm never bringing it back ever.
Okay,
It's
setting
gone.
all of it on fire, and we're deleting the Photoshop files. So get your loot.
I'll
now.
do that too.
Get away from my computer, sir.
I'll put a sad face in my notebook and say next to it says no merch. Ever.
Oh. No, not no merch, just Sweet Justice merch. All gone.
Okay, I'll draw a donut next to it. There we go.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect. I think that's all we have to say for new things, right? Keep your eyes and your ears. Eyes and your ears.
Whoa.
peeled.
Ears
On
and ears combined.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that one
Watch
bit.
social media. There you go. We got fun stuff coming up, especially on the Twitter.
What
Amazing.
do we do when there's no intro on the show? We can't like cut to a musical intro. What do we do?
You're the musical intro now.
Dun dun da 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 da. I don't know any
We use
music.
the same intros, but we just do stick figures. And just put whip next to it. Until we have a trailer.
I meant for this show, but
Oh,
for
this
season
show.
2. Yeah. But I'm doing that now for season 2.
We need a talk trailer. We don't need a talk trailer.
No, I don't know how to cut. I don't know how to jump. How do you segue? How do you guys segue into it?
We just stopped talking about it. We just do it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's do it. See, this is how we're gonna do it. We're transitioning to the main portion of the podcast, and we're gonna talk about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves, the movie.
Hat.
And it's spoilers, all the spoilers. So if you have
All
not
spoilers all the time.
seen the movie,
Just walk away.
and just mute the stream or hit next.
Don't skip. Just
when you're
don't hit
listening
next.
to this in the
Just
future.
pause. Go to the theater and see the movie,
Then come back.
and then come back, or view it in whatever way you feel like viewing it. I'm not gonna claim to know what you're
pause
about.
the stream or podcast, and then go to your local theater, and then when you return, resume.
Tuesdays are usually half price days, so
Are they? It's not Tuesday.
depends where you are. No, tomorrow's Tuesday though.
Yeah, that's true.
Just
So
go right now.
Yeah. Just abandon us and go watch it.
wow. I'm gonna say the first thing. The movie did not start off with a great start for me, and it had nothing to do with the movie at all.
No.
It had nothing to do with the movie.
Is it because we were in theater? We were watching in Screen X.
No, it's not even that either.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
not even that either.
Now I don't know what you're gonna say.
It was off on the wrong foot because you had 5 of the cast members sitting on some stools, and they were like, "This movie's about heroes, but you're the real heroes for coming to the movies. The way movies were meant to be seen." It's like, come on,
it was
man.
so bad, and none of them. They all looked so uncomfortable.
You
every single one of them.
Chris Pine did not want to read that. He was like, I am contractually obligated to read this shitty script off a prompter about how the viewers are the true heroes of seeing the movie in theaters.
Yeah.
Pretty sure if you go back and watch it, actually, he blinks in Morse code and he's like asking for
What's really funny is they had all like 5 of them up there, and like 2 of them didn't say a word. They just sat there at the end and just looked at the camera.
It was so awkward.
Thanks to Thea Lillis, like just had blank stares, and Justice Smith. Yeah, those two did not even say a thing. Not even Hugh Grant. It was just Chris Pine the whole time, and I think Michelle Rodriguez said one thing. And
I,
yeah.
I'll be honest. If I had the option to just watch movies at home, I probably would never go to a theater unless it's very special occasions. I would stay home and watch them.
Yep.
This to me was one of those special occasions, I will say. Like, but then playing that made me wish I hadn't watched it in theaters out of spite. Because this is the type of movie that I think is better in theaters. But can we also talk about the reason it sucked in theaters, which is the other reason?
Yeah, so the big two notes are not the movie's fault at all, not the actual film's fault. The first one was the cringy opening. So we found a time slot at our local theater that we could all accommodate, and eat dinner beforehand and all that. And it was in, what is it, Screen X?
Screen X.
Avoid it at all costs.
Which means that
just run
in front
away.
of you, there's the normal screen, right? And then they have two more projectors that project this way. And it's not 3 screens, it's 1 screen and 2 walls.
Yeah. I'm gonna have a visual representation real quick.
Yeah. And it's dumb because it's meant to be like peripheral vision, like, because if you look at it, it looks bad because it's supposed to be like peripheral vision. They're like, focus on the center screen. I didn't like it. Not all the scenes were like it.
Okay.
Oh, good luck showing that up.
You're gonna see my D&D notes, sort of.
It's gonna blur.
No, we can't.
Good job.
We can't see it.
There we go. There it is.
It's like that.
Yeah.
That's
this is
us.
the movie.
We're in the front, and that's the movie. That's Chris Pine.
Yeah.
And the walls are also have projectors. So like the characters on the walls are super stretched out.
Yeah.
But these are the seats.
And they showed some scenes before the movie started, like advertising it, that looked good.
Looked great.
Yeah.
With the ads.
The ads were like full on screens all the way around.
It was
like
cool. Yeah. But in practice, it's
garbage town.
It's not good.
Well,
it's distracting.
The movie was not filmed specifically for Film X, right?
Yeah.
But they did it anyways.
And not all the scenes are even in Screen X. So
because you don't get to
weird.
watch the movie in widescreen. You're stuck watching the fucking walls, And then it wasn't every scene. It was like the big panning shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was one scene. We're still not in the spoilers yet. And there was one scene
started on the big
characters
panning
were having
shots.
conversations, but then the characters are off camera to the left of the theater.
Yeah.
But I was like, who's that? Whose voice is that? And I'm like, oh, I have to look left.
It was awful. It was so bad. Yeah, they're like darker, worse versions of a screen that you can't see. And if you try to see, it ruins the main screen.
Because it wasn't a screen, it was a wall with panels. So
you
can see the little squares.
Yeah, it's just a
you
wall.
can see light fixtures in the middle of the screen.
Like the exit
and the fire alarm.
The fire alarm. What's really funny is I noticed this when it was when the camera would pan. The stuff coming on from this screen to this screen wasn't 1-to-1, so it was like bloop.
Yeah, it was super stretched, and it was like, and then
it was not a good time. So
don't watch Screen X. I don't care.
Don't watch Screen X.
If this movie was built for Screen X, just don't do it.
Yeah. So yeah, the projectors were just off, and then they turn on for certain scenes. But that's not the movie's fault either, I guess. It's not the film's fault. It's not the film's fault.
No. That was somebody that wants money's. That was capitalism's fault.
Yeah, add that to the fucking list, right?
Yeah, right.
Add that to the list.
But what did you guys think of the movie despite that?
Well, it got 89% Rotten Tomatoes, and then 72 for the critics.
That's about right.
That makes sense to me.
In my mind, I rated it like a solid 8 in my mind.
Yeah, 8.5
like 8 of 10
for me.
I'm a little lower than that. I'm like a 7.5. Yeah.
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 memes. I'm gonna give it 7. 7 out of 10 memes. We'll bring it up to 7.5 for a couple of really good things that are very subjective to me.
To be fair, I went in with like 0 expectations.
Same.
Because when the movie first announced and I saw the trailer, I was like, oh man, this movie is going to be a beautiful disaster. It's going to be so bad that it's good. So I didn't really have a lot of faith in the film going into it. So maybe because my expectations were so low that I was just very pleased with the movie, and it was a good ride. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I ended up enjoying it quite a bit.
I'm very glad that they worked in all of the different D&D races, because I spotted quite a bit that were just there for like a frame or two. And I wrote some notes on which ones we saw.
Well, real quick,
Yes.
I will say that this is stuff that if you don't know about D&D, which I know everyone watching and listening to this knows about D&D at least a little bit, but I will say that's the type of stuff that, like, there's a very weird way to look at this movie that if you had gone into it not knowing about D&D, none of this stuff would have landed. And I kind of wish we had someone here who didn't know anything about D&D, because I think it would be a very, very different experience. It'd be a very different movie. And their ratings would probably not be high. So I just think that's an interesting thing to bring up at the very beginning, because a lot of stuff we're about to talk about is only really good because we play D&D, and might be really annoying and weird if you don't. I don't know. So
I think one of the best ways to describe this is what you heard someone say outside of the theater, Moobs, of how they described it, which was,
oh, you want me to say? Yeah. So I feel like those people specifically don't play Dungeons and Dragons, just based off their comments. And when we were leaving the movie, they're like, "Oh, so that was like Guardians of the Galaxies, but fantasy." And I was like, "Oh yeah, pretty much was."
Pretty much on point.
That's a great way to sum it up with and put a bow on it, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That's now for sure. Spoiler
into
stuff.
the nerdery.
Yeah, we're gonna go super hard spoilers.
Spoilers. Please leave. Don't stay. It's not our fault if you get spoilered.
If they're here this long and they didn't heed the warnings, and then it's on them.
Okay. Done. Yeah. The diversity I thought it was awesome. And Max has his list of what popped up.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Krokra, which was very interesting to see. Loved that. I loved the depiction of the Dragonborn. I think that all of these, they looked good. And obviously, like some of your easier, like elves. Yeah, we've seen elves before. Halflings, great usage of like forced perspective photography. I think maybe there was a gnome. I couldn't tell if one of the characters was a gnome or a halfling, or not, like which one of those. But yeah, love the halfling. Fucking Bradley Cooper as a halfling was absolutely spectacular.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. He was so damn good. Hobgoblin in the beginning in the jail, which I thought was cool. I didn't really like that scene very much, but it was cool to see Hobgoblin. Did you also catch there was a Yuan T in the prison?
A pureblood.
The
pureblood Yuan T. To be specific.
Full on snake mode, yeah.
I'm trying to think. It was
cool. Very cool.
It's the Yuan T that is snakehead on top, and then
overhead.
Yeah. What are they? I don't think it's pureblood, but it's in the monster manual. I don't want to go looking through there. It's one of those, but it's
Cobra style. I could be wrong.
I thought the pureblood was the player race that looked like a person with like scales and stuff on them. But I mean, you're Yuan T, you can do whatever you want.
It was cool.
It was
really
super cool to see.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I will say I didn't love how they did the tabaxi. I thought they looked real goofy. They looked like a person in a suit walking around at like a theme park to me.
Oh yeah.
Did I love that they were in the movie? Yes. And were other VFX in other scenes really good? Yes. So I mean,
I do applaud though how much of practical effects the film did, and it wasn't pure CG. Right, so that was actually super cool.
Yes, I agree with that for sure.
Did you catch the Githyanki?
No.
During the backstory when when Edgin or Chris Pine's character was so he was sitting down playing the lute or pretending to be a beggar, and he trips the Githyanki as it was running away because it stole something.
Was that supposed to be a Githyanki?
No, I thought it was an orc. It wasn't the Edgin.
Yeah.
Hey, Robbie.
I see.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I could not tell. There was some, I was like, what is that? Is it a goblin? Is it what? I don't know.
A lot of the scenes were very fast too. Like that's for better or worse, this movie covered a lot of
there
were a lot of scenes in this movie.
I will say the one thing that I'm disappointed in is when you're bringing up scenes that went by too fast. They had a bit of a jaunt into the Underdark, and I feel like if you're gonna do the Underdark, it can't be like a little slice out of the movie. Like, you know, I don't want to go there. Like, I read books, R.A. Salvatore, blah, blah, blah. It's like going down a hole, you're in the Underdark, and then you go get a thing and then you leave. Like, that's not how that's supposed to work. I don't know. I wished, like, I wish they would have left it out and went somewhere else, and then maybe next time do an Underdark whole thing, because I feel like if you're going there, it needs to be like a big thing.
Yeah, I agree with that because just going to the Underdark is just it's a massive thing. Like
Yeah.
you can't just tip your toe in Underdark and come back out unscathed.
Mm-hmm. And I
So
think it's. Go ahead.
Well, I agree and I disagree, and I agree with you. But also, that's literally every scene in this movie. Every scene that should have taken them somewhere epic, that should have been like several sessions of gameplay in a D&D game, was crunched down into like 5 minutes max. Like they went so many places so fast. The pacing was kind of insane. Like if you didn't know what was going on and you missed something, it didn't matter because there are already 5 scenes past that now. I didn't love that. And I think that the Underdark is just a symptom of that, where it felt like they were trying to check things off their D&D nerd list more than focus on the pacing of the movie. I don't think it ruins the movie going experience,
right?
But it's like, well, they could have paced it a little better, spent a little more time in a couple more locations, and it probably would have actually been a better movie for it.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
It's almost like a dungeon master was just hand waving travel, like overland travel through the
fast travel. Forget about it.
Yeah, I think maybe my opinion on the Underdark scenes are also, I don't know, are a little biased because they showed some intellect devourers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Little brains on feeties, and the nerd got excited. I was like, intellect devourers? Does that mean that there are illithids, mind flayers nearby? Are we going to see mind flayers in the movie? No, you don't. You don't see in mind flayers.
Well, and that's another example of they're just checking things off a list to make a joke, and then they're moving on to the next thing. Like the whole scene could have been cut. The joke was cute.
Yeah.
But like that one could have been cut, right? It's like.
I think while I enjoyed the jokes and I laughed at a lot of them, it's if I was not a huge D&D nerd, I probably would have laughed at 2 jokes.
Can we talk about a couple of other locations they went? Because there's other locations that are from the books. So I mean, the main place that this takes place is Neverwinter, right? But there are a couple other places mentioned. I didn't personally catch them all.
The movie made sure to let the audience know that this was a D&D movie because they did so many name drops like the Sword Coast, Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter,
Waterdeep.
Yeah, Waterdeep. And they're like, hey, this is Dungeons and Dragons.
We're in Forgotten Realms, and you better remember that.
But if you never played D&D or don't know anything, they're like, what are these words?
I will say like that's like an example of where that's fine because the name of a city is just the name of a city, right? So that worked out really well. It's more like when they drop a monster that requires a character to tell you how that monster works in 2 seconds for one joke. It's like we didn't need that. Let's focus on something else. But I think the name drops for some of the cities and some of the famous characters actually work because it's kind of okay to not know because they mentioned some people too. The wizard. They mentioned Mordenkainen.
Yeah, they didn't mention Mordenkainen.
And there was somebody else. There were 1 or 2 other people they mentioned that are famous characters. The sorcerer, the red sorcerer guy, isn't he?
Oh, so like the big bad evil guy, like pulling the strings. That isn't even the antagonist of the movie, but it's sort of one step away from that was Sastam.
Little sprinkling of season, in case they do a series of.
Which I would be down for. I would watch more movies.
Oh, yeah. I would 100%.
I would totally watch them. Even if it was different like cast, like I like the idea of them just making movies in this universe. I think it's fun. Do you want to talk about the main cast at all?
Yeah, I mean we can. I can't think of any other like major name drops. Like I was surprised that they brought Sastam being like a a very, very, very powerful lich who rules one of the rulers of Thay, which is interesting. But yeah, let's talk about the main cast. That works for me.
Yeah, I think we talked about. It was funny you were talking about the representation of the races in D&D, but I actually thought the representation of the cast was really good too. It can always be better, of course. The main antagonist and protagonist are just like white dudes. But it kind of makes sense because they're both kind of not actually good at anything, and they're just like your generic white guy protagonist. So it was kind of funny if you look at it that way.
Yeah, Chris Pine, who plays Edgin Darvis, who's like basically the lead. And then you have Hugh Grant, who plays Forge Fitzwilliams, who's just,
and they're both great.
I guess he's just like a con man.
Yeah.
I would argue that Chris Pine's character Edgin is not a bard, even though they're very good at performing.
So we're getting spicy already.
Yeah, so I mean, they clearly propped him up to be a bard. Like I think that that's so much right in your face, all the music playing and storytelling and stuff like that. They put him in there like to be a bard. He doesn't cast a single spell the whole movie. And that really gets to me, because if you're not a bard and you're just some common dude, what the fuck are you doing running around with adventurers?
Excuse me, go try to tell Mr. William Shakespeare he's not a bard. That word does not belong to you, Dungeons and Dragons. First off,
specifically the class.
I liked it.
I liked it. He played the lute very well. I would argue he's more of a rogue, like he's a rogue.
Yeah. But I liked that they made that decision, because I think trying to give every single character, because the druid didn't have spells either, and trying to give every single character spells and explain the differences in the type of spells meant that they either had to explain a lot, or they had to make the sorcerer more powerful in comparison, which wouldn't work for the type of story they were trying to tell with his character, which I actually liked, because basically the whole cast is a bunch of stupid, useless people, basically players that said, I'm gonna make a character that's built this way and you can't stop me, and I thought that was amazing.
Then you have Holga Kilgore, played by Michelle Rodriguez. I think she was a great barbarian.
I loved her as a barbarian. I know not everyone agrees. I thought she was great.
I'm sure she has the tavern brawler feat, because she like uses every weapon she can grab, like a rock.
I thought that too, for sure. The only thing that I didn't like, and it's not her fault, is like I got really bored with like the dumb barbarian like trope, like where I don't know. I think they could have done without it, but that movie is just like a whole
disagreed on
bag
this,
full of
because
tropes.
I didn't think she was as dumb as they could have gone with it, and they had several lines that I felt like pulled it back from the edge, where she was like there was one line where she said something dumb and they said something and she's like, don't mock me, and I thought, she's not dumb, she's just not like fast. Does that make sense? Like, there's a difference.
I liked how they did it. Like, she wasn't. They could have played it where she's just an absolute idiot, but she wasn't.
Yeah,
she was still very smart about things. Like, she was very knowledgeable about weapons and forge masters,
improvised weapons.
But she just like, she didn't have great ideas, and that's how they played it off.
But I it felt like a real player in a way that I liked. And then I also feel like I would actually like to see players playing their barbarians more like that, because I think too often we do see players fall into the dumb trope, and I'm not against it, because it's like you said, Moobs, the whole movie is tropes.
I mean, it's Dungeons and Dragons, you have to.
It's all
like if they tried to make a super serious D&D movie, kind of like Lord of the Rings or something, I'm not sure.
Didn't they try once?
If it would do well.
I don't think it would do well either.
It's gotta be lighthearted. It's gotta have humor, and it's gotta be fun, because that's what D&D is. It's just when you play with your friends, you get into shenanigans, you do stupid stuff, and then you have a great time. I want to save the paladin for last, because
you do. I was just bringing him up next. Your boy. Okay, we'll save him for last.
We'll move to Doric, the tiefling druid.
She got the least.
Sophia Lillis.
Sorry.
I want to say that I really liked the depiction of a tiefling as her character, and I know that when the trailers dropped, the internet was up in arms. Why isn't she red? That's not a tiefling. You don't read the book. Read the fucking book.
Tieflings come in all shades of color.
Yeah, and I mean, and just because she looked like a normal like human-esque skin tone. I mean, she had horns, she had a tail. Like,
She had
I thought it
tail?
was great.
Which she used in the movie.
Yes.
Did she?
Yes.
I missed that. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. It was super.
I
cool.
loved her. I'm biased because I like tieflings and druids quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sad she didn't have that many lines in the movie.
No.
At all.
She
Very
didn't really have a
little
lot of
character
character development, and I didn't love, this is super spoiler for the end, I didn't love that at the end she gets with the dude that's just been like bugging her to get together the whole thing. Like, on one hand it's cute, but on the other hand it's like she really had no good, I don't know that I know who she is, so it just felt like shoved in there.
She's confident now. She didn't. Her thing was like she didn't like weak.
I liked that,
right?
but I feel like she needed another scene or two to herself to establish her before that pays off properly. That's like one of my few complaints that I feel like would have been easily fixed.
If there was a director's cut,
oh, gosh, I hope so.
It would include more
Give me
character
3 hours
growth
of
and
that.
character
I'd
building.
watch 3 hours.
I would too, 100%.
But I thought she was cool. She was basically a moon druid. And
excuse me, working the way druids should work. I don't care. It doesn't matter which edition of D&D we're talking about because they're all wrong. She was able to turn into like 5 tiny animals right in a row from one to the other. That's how it should work. That is the fantasy of being a moon druid that I want them to figure out how to make it work via the rules. I understand there have to be some limitations.
I talked about this in the Druid UA for the playtest, and I said the same exact thing. There's utility forms that druids can use all the time, and then you have a set amount of combat forms.
Who cares?
It's like 4th edition's leaking again.
And
utility powers, like, combat powers.
They'll just sneak around as animals all the time, and then we don't need a rogue. And I'm like, okay, so you don't need a rogue. Whatever.
The movie did a great job that moon druids are the best infiltrators.
And there is an obvious weakness. If you have, didn't we look this up? True Sight would let you know if an animal is wild shaped.
And I think that's what they were trying to get across when Safina, who is the red wizard in disguise, played by Daisy Head. Yep. She was in a scene where they were talking, and she looked up and her eyes sort of glowed blue, and she's like, "There's a wild shape," and she pointed. I think that's what we were trying to get across. Is I couldn't think of anything else that would have done that.
I wrote that in my notes. I was like, how the hell did she know there's a wild shaper? Like, because I've never come across that in my career of playing D&D, but and
I've played in games where
at wild shape, and it says you magically turn into an animal. So while Sofina is an extremely high level wizard, I think she had detect magic on, because if she had true sight, she would immediately know that it is a tiefling, right? So if
I don't know, I honestly
magic,
she
can detect the magical essence of wild shape, not know distinctly
it's true
where it is.
And then she's looked around for a minute. She could have been looking for an animal. It could be either, honestly, but I also think it's okay to say the movie just took liberties with that spell. But the fact that they're putting those types of spells in there at all, I don't mind them taking some liberties with the spell, because they're showing the intent of the spell, right?
I think they're trying to set up like this. Sofina is a very powerful wizard, and she's so in tune with magic, she can detect these kinds of things.
After looking, I never thought about this. In that, I think you're right that detect magic would detect wild shape, because it gives you its spell school if it has one. Wild shape doesn't have one, but it specifically says magical. So my brain went to True Sight, but I think you're on the money right there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Also,
and I liked it.
IBS.
I liked it a lot.
How you doing, bud? Hello, Devil Saint. Hope y'all are doing well.
Plug your ears. You didn't see the movie yet.
Yeah, if you didn't see the movie, get out of here.
No, just mute it and just look at our mouths move.
Oh, watch us talk.
I love how the directors or the scriptwriter was like, yeah, she could turn into owlbear. Who cares? It's rule of cool,
I love
baby.
that. Like, who cares? Who cares?
Because normal bears and owlbears really don't have any difference in fighting style at all. Like,
I think it's all about balance, and if what you're playing feels, if the DM says it's balanced for the fight, for the campaign, it literally doesn't matter what it is. Like, that's irrelevant. because
Yeah.
it's magic. So
Yeah, I remember the internet was in an uproar. You can't do
yeah,
this. And
but
I'm
all
like,
these people,
but then I was like, well, I wish I could.
Yeah. Like,
right? And how many games have you been in? For no reason, where like adventurers befriend or have a pet that's technically like a monstrous thing. Like we have so many players that are like they want to do the thing that behooves them, but then when it's in a movie, they're like, well, "That's stupid."
yeah.
Mimi.
Uh,
Agreed.
the scene when she was the horse, right? When she was rescuing her Emerald Enclave friends.
Hmm.
She was the horse and then turned into owlbear. But then she jumped on a horse? Was there 2 horses or 1 horse? Because I was like, wasn't she the horse?
I think she took one of the guards' horses, one of
So
the
there's
bad
2
guys'
horses.
horses. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Like one of
Yeah,
the
I think
knight's
so too.
I
horses.
wasn't sure. But
But
yeah,
that's
but she was
I
great. I liked
didn't
her
think about that.
character, even though she didn't really have much of an impact in the film, and they didn't give her too many lines.
Hmm.
She did a good
Uh,
job though. Like it was a really good
and then
like
the
depiction.
wild mage sorcerer, which I assume is a wild mage because he mentioned it in the
He
film.
mentioned wild magic. Yeah.
Yeah, Simon Amore, played by Justice Smith. He was a terrible sorcerer.
Yeah.
I loved him because he was a cantrip king and he made a living with just those shitty cantrips that everyone snubs their
Yeah,
nose at. Look at
and he
him making
did
them
it
work.
his way through the entire movie.
I honestly like that because if you just think about, you know, like commoners in D&D as well as like people who can cast spells. Like there's much more commoners than there are people who can cast spells. How like life changing would that be if like I can cast spells? I can cast cantrips, right? Imagine today if either of you could cast a cantrip, how much that would change your life. And I thought it was
I'd
interesting that he
be
was having like a little a little show, like, hey, look, I can cast magic, that kind of
I
stuff.
would have a residency at the Magic Castle and scamming people out of their monies.
Well, isn't the primary stat for a sorcerer charisma?
Yes.
Yes.
And his main character flaw was that he literally had no charisma.
Yeah, no, yeah,
So
exactly.
it's actually kind of interesting of like what if you have it's about like what if you're playing in a game where you're like the one rule is that your main stat has to be like your dump stat, like just for shits and giggles. Like that's what that felt like. It felt like somebody challenging themselves and building it not
It would have to be
optimally.
a very RP heavy campaign because combat wise, that would not be a lot of fun.
I think it could be fun though, because you're looking for interesting ways to deal with the combat, right?
Yeah.
Like
You can have a
like the movie,
sorcerer.
they had to solve the problems in weird ways.
You can have a sorcerer with low charisma. You just got to pick spells that buff and don't cause saves or
Yeah.
do any damage.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
doable, but it's not a fun experience.
But he was a half elf. I think
Yes.
they
Yeah.
made note of that maybe just once.
Just
So if
briefly.
you missed it,
Yeah.
you would not know. But he had the pointy ears, so you would knew he was
Mhm.
elf, but you didn't know he was half elf.
Which would mean
Uh,
he should be good at things and be charismatic, but he really wasn't. So I don't know. Half elves are usually good at things.
as all good character building, and when you're role playing, you have character flaws. So maybe he
Yeah.
could have had okay charisma, but his flaw was just he was incompetent.
I loved him. I thought he was very sweet. I thought his character development was really good.
Yeah, he had
I
really great
liked his
character development.
spells. I liked the VFX of the spells. I liked I liked everything about him. I thought he was adorable. So
I want to talk about spells, but we'll wait till we get through all the characters.
yeah. We have so much to talk about.
Forge Fitzwilliams, who's played by Hugh Grant. He's just a
Just an
fantastic
asshole.
actor.
Yeah.
He's just a
Played
great
a dick.
actor.
Oh yeah, just the best.
Great actor, but he wasn't really part of the adventuring
No.
party. He was
Yeah.
just a con man who was like a pseudo bad guy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
his character was great. Even though he was like a baddie, he was just very charismatic and love him for it.
You liked when he was on screen. Yeah.
He definitely
Yeah,
every time he was on
definitely.
the camera, he stole the show basically.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I may be biased, but my favorite character was Zenk Yendar from Regé Jean Page, who was
Okay,
the
John
paladin.
Page. RJP, my boy.
RJP. Um, Not because he
I
was
don't
a
remember anything he
paladin.
said. I just heard Village screaming in my ears the whole time he was on screen. It was
Well,
really
I didn't.
weird.
He wasn't my favorite character because he was a paladin. He was my favorite character because he
'Cause
was
he was a
basically
handsome badass.
he was basically Ron.
Yeah, a handsome badass.
Oh yeah.
He was,
It was
a good looking guy.
It was so funny because in
He
that
was a good-looking
movie,
guy,
he says that he doesn't understand colloquialisms, you know. And I just saw moves like you look around in the movie
Our
theater
whole
after that.
row is just like, it's Ron.
There was
Yeah.
a scene where Holga was like, "Son of a bitch," and then Yank's character was like, "Oh, so his mother was the problem." And she's like, "What? No, it's just a saying." And I'm like, and I looked at Max and Bun. I was like, "It's Ron."
That was so good. That was the best part.
I want to like. I wish we saw more on-screen time with Zinc, like, because he wasn't
Oh.
officially part of the part of the party. He just came to help along. Which in my brain, it's like he's a DM PC that came to help the party along and then left.
Loved it for that reason, that he shows up, helps them out, and then you're like, okay, this guy's gonna help save the world, and he's just like, nah, I've got to go somewhere. Bye. Like, it was
Too high
so
level for
funny.
you guys are like level 6. I'm level 12.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I got things to do.
To me, it felt like they had a friend that wanted to play the campaign, and he's like, well, I don't have time to make a character, but I've got like this level 12 character. Can I just play him? I can only stay for one session anyways. And then he like just couldn't make like the next like 3 sessions because like, I don't know, his wife had a kid, and he's like, oh, sorry guys. And he just never shows up again. And everybody's just like, oh, that guy.
His sword was really cool. Because his sword was some kind of magical weapon that like he would like
light thing.
Well, I think that was paladin stuff. But what happened is this: if you notice his sword, like he would stick his sword in and then pull it out, and there'd be a dagger left.
Yeah, he can shoot his sword out, and he's got a
Yeah.
little tiny dagger, and then
Yeah.
he can reattach it to the dagger, and he pulled that out of the zombie assassin guy.
It made me think of if you were a Eldritch Knight and you had the ability to return your weapons to you, but then you also had a dagger and you flavored it to be the same weapon. I think you could get away with that by the rules. Technically, you could flavor it that way.
I'm disappointed. I'm with Wachiba. When his sword lit up, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna smite this dude!" And it never erupted of radiant light or energy. So I was like, "Well, okay, it was cool, but it didn't."
If there's a sequel, we better get a good smite, or else.
I felt disappointed with the smite, if that what they were trying to insinuate.
I'm trying to think of what spell that is, or what channel divinity that is. Of what I thought it was, but it's I've lost it. Where you basically
Yes,
divine favor.
Divine
Thank
favor?
you.
Yeah, thanks, Zeus.
That's what I'm thinking of.
He was pretty funny, because he was just like a straight character, and just freaking badass. Like he just soloed a whole group of assassins, while the rest of the party just watched.
Yeah, that was so he's like, I got this. You wait, and then like he just takes on like 4 or 5 dudes, and they're just like standing around.
I like to use a divine sense, and he's like, I sense evil, and he turns around. And there's a bunch of freaking evil, undead assassins.
I just felt he made the other characters. He like they were able to play off him. He made them seem much more like normal people in comparison, and also made their strengths seem better in a way. Like you realize how not normal that is in this world, and how kind of stupid the main team is, but also how much they're trying. Like, I don't know. I loved it. I thought it worked really well for the movie.
Edgen gives a whole speech like towards the end of the movie on like how we are all failures, and if we give up now, then we lose. Like we learn by failing. We keep moving forward.
Inspiring leader.
Yep. I loved all the characters. I think the only other one we haven't really talked about is Daisy Head. Daisy Head played Safina. Did you just? She is. I know they call her a wizard in the movie, but are you convinced that is the class that she is?
She is a red wizard of Thay.
Yes.
Okay, so that's like a specific thing in the books.
Yes. Okay. Mean old.
I don't know that lore.
Like super evil wizards, basically.
Yeah.
They heavily like show that, hey, these red wizards are really bad people and turning.
I feel like she played that character very well. She felt like a menacing evil wizard for sure.
Oh, I loved her. She was cool. She was
She
just real cool.
also used prestidigitation to cool down
Yes.
Forge's tea.
You gotta love the cantrip representation.
I know so many cantrips.
Yeah.
So many. So good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, Sorcerer Simon also used Mage Hand when he was trying to steal all these people's onions.
I thought it was in telekinesis. I didn't see the hand.
Oh, was it time? Oh, maybe you're right.
See the hand, but do you have to? Is the hand always visible in?
Yeah, unless you have
you can make it invisible though, right?
No, there's certain classes that get that.
It could have been what, unseen servant? Isn't that a spell that would do something similar?
Something was too heavy for telekinesis later in the movie, so that's what made me think it was telekinesis. But
okay, that makes sense.
There's a lot of spells in that movie though, and I'm here for it because he mentions telekinesis. Can we talk about spells? We good for spells now?
Wait, one more character, real quick, just like a nice little nod. I really liked Kira. She wasn't really a main character, but they did have a rogue in the party. Technically, she just was only there. She's like a rogue in the making, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really cute.
Of invisibility.
Yeah, I just thought that was cute that they kind of they could definitely do a lot if they decided to make more movies with her. So I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I love the representation. I love how many cool female characters there were in this. I love that the female characters had their own relationships with each other outside of the male characters. And I love that we got all sorts of actors of color. So it's just like really nice to see in a D&D movie because D&D is notoriously a very
we had one Asian
male
genre. He was the badass assassin. So
yeah, was he the only
that I saw? I was hoping for more Asian representation in the film, but
like I said, they can always do better. But it's nice to see
one of the main baddies.
Some of it, yeah, and he was pretty cool. I wish he had lasted a little longer. Oh yeah, was that green flame blade? Do we think?
Yeah, I had green. I think it was green flame blade because the sword was lit green with flames. That's what I first go to. It didn't behave the same way, but I thought that's what it was. I will say, I read somewhere, by the way, I read somewhere that in early script development that Zinc was supposed to be Driss coming in to help him and then leaving.
Oh. Would they decide that skin tone might not read properly on camera or something?
I don't know. Maybe they don't want
notoriously hard to make Dritz
to thing. Can pull it off in Community. There's no fucking reason they shouldn't do it in a D&D movie.
That's all I'm picturing.
I mean, yeah. It's very nuanced, is what it would have to be.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if, with that being one of the cases, but I'm also wondering if they just didn't want to have a throwaway Drist for like part of the movie and like, oh, I'm here, I'm leaving.
I wouldn't if I were them.
That would have felt like a disservice.
It seems
how
forced.
Little they touched the Underdark. Yeah, it would.
Yeah,
it would have been a waste.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the next movie.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Probably not, but I hope so.
Oh, spells. Spell time. I have a list of spells that I think that I saw, and then we can talk about them later. But I want to list all the ones and see and I want you all to see if I missed anything off the top of your head. So I've got Time Stop. Yes. I've got Misty Step.
Yes.
Reverse Gravity, Prestidigitation, Telekinesis, Fireball / Firebolt, somewhere in there, Bigby's Hand.
Yes.
Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, Shield, Counterspell, Resilient Sphere, Speak with Dead, Evard's Black Tentacles, Magic Missile.
Yes.
I can't think of anything else. But I know there's probably more that I just didn't see.
There's definitely more, but
Meteor Swarm?
Are we skipping the cantrips?
No.
Big Create Fire.
Oh yeah, Animate Object. Yes.
Create Flame, Animate Object. Yeah. You're right. And then Did you think that those were Meteor Swarm, Zeus, at the end when she was throwing them down? Because I thought.
Now that he says it, I think so. I think it's Meteor Swarm.
Oh, and Control Water.
Yeah.
Watery Sphere.
Oh, and Obscuring Mist.
Which one?
Obscuring Mist.
I thought the bubble was what's that item?
I thought it was Resilient Sphere, but I guess it would be Watery Sphere.
Resilient Sphere, that's the one. Yes.
What were you thinking of?
Fog Cloud.
Fog Cloud. Yeah.
It was like a quick scene You would have missed it if you blinked because it was like a recap thing in the beginning.
Yep, 100%.
Oh,
Oh yeah, you're right.
almost. Well, there was counterspell. I don't know if you've mentioned that one.
I did. It was
Okay,
watery
yeah.
sphere. It wasn't resilient
And
sphere.
then almost finger of death.
Yeah.
What's
When
that spell?
the scene where her one finger was turning all black and she was gonna
Oh,
poke, Chris Pine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't quite
That's
get it
super
off.
cool. I want to say too that I really appreciated, and it was really prevalent in the battle with Safina at the end, how they worked in concentration in like a not
Loved
like
that.
ham-fisted way. Like
Loved
you
that.
got the sense that, oh, they interrupted her from trying to cast a spell, which my mind's like, oh, bro, concentration. That's awesome. I loved it. Like with the animated object, with that statue, I was like, that's super cool.
Yep.
They
Garlic,
honestly
baby.
did that. They did a good job with all the spells in that none of them felt like they were forcing you to understand that they were real D&D spells. They were just
Yeah.
making them work in a way that felt natural, and that you as the viewer just went, because I don't know all those spells you guys just said. Some of those I'm like, that's a mystery to me. But at no point during the movie was I like, what kind of spell is that? Like I was just like, oh yeah, okay, cool, we're doing this, let's go. I think they did such a good job bringing that stuff to the screen without making like a thing of it.
I loved all the spells. I think they all looked great. It looked fantastic.
Yeah, the fight
Except for the deer.
It's
Well,
like,
that's a wild shape, yeah.
Yeah, the fight sequence, because they really like, hey, this is like 10 rounds of combat. Combat's like they got all that in. Well, she cast shield, and then Simon freaking sent the magic missiles, and she countered the magic missiles, and just like all these things going off. And it's like, yeah, if D&D was sped up in real time, like all that shit would be happening, and that was
That's
like
exactly how it would look.
super
so cool to see.
I did miss Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning was one of them. She casted on them. I remember that now. But yeah, I loved it. And then also Simon had a really cool, which I think was his component pouch.
This is what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Do we think that was his focus, his component pouch, which was like a magical component pouch, which explains the way component pouches could actually work?
Yeah.
Or do we think that was like, what do we think that was? It was really interesting.
I thought it was a component pouch when he like spun the wheel on his thing and grabbed something out of it and used it. I think it was a cool take on a component pouch myself.
I'm not sure because every time he uses, that's when his
wild magic
would come into play. So
it's almost like it's his spell focus that the player made a cool mechanic for.
Yeah, so it's uncertain, but yeah, because he did get like a little orb or whatever whenever he would cast his big spells.
But it's his component focus or his arcane pouch.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of
either way, it was super cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
I loved it. It's a good example of something that's not a perfect one-to-one. It works really good on screen. They didn't waste time explaining it because they didn't need to, and it was just really cool.
And then another cool thing that they added about spell casting, which was very subtle, was when Simon was wrestling with I forgot who, and he was about to cast a spell, and they covered Simon's mouth so because he couldn't get the verbal part.
I missed that.
I missed that. That's cool.
The spell. So that was like a cool little thing to time with like concentration and being able to speak and components and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. I really do like that. I thought he was a wild magic sorcerer because he mentioned his wild magic, but I mean,
he mentioned it once and then it never went back.
It never came up again. Yeah,
but like everything else in the movie, that's how they do it. They're like D&D reference now. Let's go. 3 scenes to go. Like,
I think it's okay. They didn't explain magic because magic is very complicated.
Yeah,
I prefer they didn't. I prefer
styles of magic. So I think it was just magic exists in this world, and that's all you need to know.
Yeah, and it looks cool.
Very cool.
Do we want to talk about creatures and monsters?
Absolutely.
Our very own Mimi made a appearance, and that made me very, very happy. I think they did a good job picking which beasts they show, because they showed things that you don't need to have D&D knowledge. You don't, other than the little brain guys. That was the only misstep for me on the creatures, because dragons, people like an average viewer knows what a dragon is, right? They even found a really fun way to subvert the Yeah, the black dragon, and they found a way to
amazing.
subvert the red dragon, which I thought was really, really cute and hilarious.
The
And
chonkiest dragon ever.
the chonkiest baby boy in the whole world. Why they didn't just try to tame him like a normal group of players would have, I don't know.
I lost it when to chase them. That chunky ass dragon started doing roly poly rolls.
Yeah,
like
it
just
just
rolling around.
why use your legs when you can just roll?
Yeah.
Look, that dragon was just living his best life, and it's their fault.
Emberchod,
you know,
the big chonkiest dragon in the world. It's beautiful. I thought
he tripped and then he kept rolling intentionally.
He's just like, I'll just roll.
He went with it. He's like, well, I'm down here.
I thought the breath tells was very interesting.
Yes.
That it had to spark in the throat first before the fire came out. So that was
a little placement and payoff. Just a little filmmaking 101 for you.
And I feel like it was also a representation of like that their breath weapons have to recharge after they use it.
Yeah. It was very cool.
That too, for sure.
And then I suppose with the black dragon with the acid breath, everyone made their reflex save, dude. Everyone made a deck save.
Those were a bunch of barbarians, man. They know what they're doing.
People, it was like a big miss. Acid breath did nothing.
It happens sometimes in D&D.
I feel like a lot of the acid breath like was a lot of the carnage was like in the background of the scene because it was only for like a split second. Like you didn't really get to see the effects.
But I saw like dudes were getting up, so I was like, oh, I guess they didn't melt. Did you guys get the tell about the mimic coming into Neverwinter?
What's tell?
The cart of giant clams being ported into Neverwinter for the big tournament event.
I just thought it was a weird clam creature that I wasn't familiar with. I missed that. That's amazing.
The one clam on top had the mimic tongue going like, and then like went back in. Yeah,
missed that.
Cute.
The mimic disguised itself as a clam, giant clam.
I loved the mimic.
Even though clams have like weird long tongues like that.
That's why I thought it was just a clam. It was like clam things. But you're right. You're right. I also loved the displacer beasts that were in that same scene.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Is I feel like, especially with like how they did the displacer beasts with like the little projection, I thought that was a super cool way to interpret that. It was fantastic, and it felt scary.
It was a cool way to interpret it because they didn't have to explain it other than just showing it. Yeah. And so even if you don't know what a displacer beast is, you got it really quick.
Yes.
Yeah. Really good.
Yeah, they had 2 illusion magic. Was the displacer piece, and then minor image. Simon.
Yeah. Oh my God, when he was doing an image of Edgen, and then he was just like melting away.
That's the one scene that might have been too stupid for me, but I would not change it because it was so funny.
That scene alone was brilliant. Oh my God,
it was so stupid, but it's exactly the type of thing that happens when you're playing D&D. Is you roll like a 1, and stuff goes weird, and the DM's like, his face starts melting.
Yeah, tons of great representations of battle rules, like Chiba.
Yeah, exactly.
I see what you're saying, Zeus. Is they could have had Displacer Beast go blurry for his displacement, but I like what they did better because then you get to see more of the. Because it would suck to have like a really awesome modeled like CGI Displacer Beast for like a couple frames and just for it to go blurry the whole time. Like
it
that
wouldn't
scary. Feel good on screen.
Yeah. Seeing it like about to chomp was really scary. So I liked it. What are there? There were more beats. I'm forgetting.
Cube.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was great.
Oh. Well, when they did the maze thing for the festival, I immediately like, oh, Minotaur, because it's a maze.
Oh yeah, we didn't get one, did we?
Didn't get Minotaur.
Yeah. Also, did you notice and just on screen for just a couple frames in Neverwinter during one of the shots going down into the city? You guys see rust monsters that were hanging out on the sign, eating a little piece of like metal? I thought that was amazing.
On the rafter.
Yeah.
See, we're gonna have to watch it again. We're gonna have to watch it again.
Yeah, there's small little tells, little moments.
I'm gonna have to pause when we watch it again.
Speaking of bad rolls, as Chiba brought it up, I think that's all the monsters that I remember.
Yeah, no beholder, which I know we're sad about. No beholder.
I was fine with that personally. They mentioned it. That's good enough in my opinion.
Yeah.
how do you do that without making a beholder seem like nothing?
Trivial. Yeah, it's like a big deal.
And if they make another movie, that's now they haven't ruined that, and that's something that they could totally like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that it's like on the cover of all the books and it's like a big deal, but I just think beholders are kind of silly and stupid looking.
They're just floating like eyeball
They're scary
heads.
to us because we know what they can do and we understand what how their brains work. But like, you don't have the time to explain that, and it's just gonna look weird. And I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of any other monsters either off the top of my head. But what we did see was like, I feel like they took their time with the monsters that they showed because I think they looked great.
Oh, the axe beaks. They were just like,
yes, there were axe beaks. You're right.
Even Doric turned into one during
Yeah.
the huge sequence of shapeshifting into 7 different animals.
Oh,
yeah, that deer was like the only one that I was just like,
they were all good except the deer. Yeah,
like
the
I feel
deer
like the
looked
model of the deer looked okay, but
insane.
something with the legs. I'm wondering if they tried to get it like to look like it was like struggling to get traction, but it looked like someone took a model of a deer that was doing this and just like put it on a plane and just let it look really
Do you
weird.
think that's that's because everybody in LA hasn't, like, we're both from the South, like we know what it looks like to see a deer in the wild. Maybe they just never seen a deer.
I mean,
that's all
to
I'm
be
saying.
fair,
Like, just maybe they've never seen a deer.
I've never seen a deer run through like a castle courtyard either, so
true.
The deer just looked weird.
It was weird. That was my only, like, the only CGI I didn't like was actually that and like one other scene that I can't remember now. So
I liked when in the last battle when Doric was Albered out and then got hit and then changed back. That was cool. I enjoyed that.
Lost her hit points and went back to
it was so good. I also liked when then she went back into an owlbear and said, "Oh, fuck you, I'm gonna smash." And I just was so happy because in my heart, I just know, well, I know that somebody might be playing a druid soon, and I just got very excited. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Hello, potato girl.
Hi, potato girl.
One of my favorite scenes in the film was when they were speaking with dead.
Oh,
the first skeleton they were talking to. It felt like something real players would do because they're arguing amongst themselves and the DM is just having a great time.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that was the moment. I don't know if you heard me in the theater, but that's where I went, it's just like Rin, because they asked them about their favorite food.
Yeah.
Because I had extra questions and I was like, oh, what's your favorite food? I don't know.
And then they're just digging up random bodies, asking questions, and like the dude who
great.
fell out of the bath and cracked his skull and died is like,
that was such a good scene.
That's all I remember.
I think that's one of the scenes I might have cut if I was editing that movie because I don't think it really served the plot, but God, it was funny. Like,
yeah. I like that there was this theme that kind of grounded it as like these are just a bunch of like fuck up adventurers like you'd have like in a real D&D game with like the speak with dead thing, and then in the Underdark scenes when they were going across that trapped bridge where Zig was trying to explain to them how to like navigate this trap, and the sorcerer just put one of his like legs on a step and just like crumbled the whole fucking bridge. Like I was like, okay, that makes sense.
It's like, oh, I didn't know the bridge started here.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite part about that scene is the next part where the barbarian, Michelle Rodriguez character, Holga, is like, wait, I got this. I'm going to tie, we've all got ropes, right? We've all got ropes. I'm going to tie him onto my axe. I'm going to throw it. I was like, how many times have we seen that scene in every game we have ever played?
Tie a rope to my axe, don't throw it.
Yeah, it's an awful idea.
Every time.
Seeing it, you're like, oh, that's not a good idea.
But then
in the moment, it's the best idea.
Simon had the portal staff. He's like, oh, hey, look.
So funny.
Yeah, because it was someone's walking stick, right? It was Hogan's walking stick.
It was Bradley Cooper's walking stick.
The halfling, which
she stole it from a wizard and gave it to her bow as a gift.
The scene itself was freaking hilarious. Oh my god.
But he called it a hither-thither staff.
That's the DM going, check your sheets.
Yeah.
What do you got in your bags, dummies?
They called it like a hither-thither staff, which is basically a portal gun, but is a staff.
Which now exists in game.
Does it now?
Do we want to talk about that briefly?
Does it exist in the game?
If you use D&D Beyond and you have a sub, you can claim content from the movie,
Yeah,
and
they
they added
released
several things,
they released the characters as playable characters,
Mhm.
for stat wise, and then they
which is
released some of
cool.
the item magic items from the movie
Mm,
Yep,
into
and that's one
D&D.
of them, I
I'm
think.
claiming them right now.
I don't remember the other items though. I don't know if either of you have it handy.
They had a bag of holding. They didn't really show it though, but like
Yeah, they
Edgin
just
was
kept.
like, "Here, hold this.
They just
Yeah,
always gave him
Hold
stuff,
this."
so it was
So I was
obvious. Like every player knew.
Simon has to have a bag holding because
Yeah, yeah,
Edgin
yeah.
Edgin just gave him everything.
yeah, yeah. I thought that was funny. It was like they didn't outright say it, but they just kept handing him shit.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. The sending stones were hilarious.
Yeah,
As well
that
when they
was
had
so
the
funny.
microphone feedback when they were listening to it in the same room. Like,
That was really good. Yeah, the use of magic items in the film was very clever, very smart.
mhm.
Especially when they are like creating portals through a painting.
That
Yeah,
was a
and then
And
cool
then like,
scene.
oh, it fell over, it failed. What are you gonna do? Like it's
That
facing
was
down.
such a cool scene. And there are
Mhm.
so many times in games where you're playing where you come up with these really weird, convoluted plots. And they work because really cool, or they fail,
Mhm.
even though they worked, and you're just so good. It was so good. And
Did
once
love-
again, proving why druids need different types of wild shapes so you can turn into a worm.
I
Sorry,
didn't know you
just
could turn
a
into a
little bitter.
worm, but there you go.
Yeah.
I did like Holga had basically a halfling fetish. She's just really into halfling dudes.
I also think that could have been cut,
Yeah.
but it was hilarious. It was so necessary.
Well, it
Bradley
was also the
Open
reverse
the
because
door.
Bradley Cooper's new
he had a
beau was
barbarian.
also like a big barbarian woman.
Yeah. When he opened the door, I lost it. I was like,
It
"Oh
was
my god,
so
he's a freaking
perfect.
halfling!" And the scale was incredible.
Yes, it was
They did a good
fantastic.
Oh
job.
my god, it was so good.
So funny.
I loved it. It was so stupid, but I loved it.
Yeah, and there was a lot of other cool, I think some cool magic items in there too. Like the amulet that Edgin's daughter had that was just like an amulet of invisibility or something like that.
On D&D Beyond 2 now.
The other
I
staff.
want to say that's one.
The helmet of disjunction. I thought that the little attunement mess up was pretty funny, and I like that the scene that he had with like his ancestor as well.
I want that to be how attunement works in games from now on. Like, how cool is that if you try to attune to an item, there's actually like a scene that has to play out that only you see.
Yeah.
Like
you have to be worthy.
It doesn't have to be that. Yeah.
The movie mentions like you don't choose, magic chooses you, right? And because like in the game you just attune for an hour or whatever, and it's like, oh boom, you're done. But like there was story here, there was character building, there's a struggle Simon had to overcome to be worthy of this helm.
I feel like if an item is like, what's above rare, like
very rare.
Very rare. Anything very rare or
100.
higher, if it requires attunement, I almost feel like you should default have to go through some sort of like trial and tribulation scene. It doesn't have to be long. It's just, and I know that's a lot of more work on the DM, but how cool is that? It's just
that feels more like, so there's common, uncommon, rare, very rare. And then there's like legendary and artifact. I think legendary and artifact would be the ones where I would like introduce that specifically.
Yeah, which that might have been a legendary item because that's a pretty OP item. It feels like.
Yeah. Well, VS said just RP it that way. Make it to where attuning magic items is a thing. What are you getting at, Zeus? I don't know. What was the helm stored inside of? I may have missed that.
It was like a metal contraption under dirt.
Yeah, like where Zank hid it in the dirt and weird dwarf chest trap thing. I don't know.
It was a puzzle that we, the viewers, did not have to solve, and I was very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a puzzle that. Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
that makes sense. Yeah, Zeus says that it was. He believes it was a bunch of iron sand to block divination, which actually makes a lot of sense. That's really cool.
There was another spell that was like stone to mud or mud to stone as well when they were in the first
stone shape or whatever.
No, there's a spell. It's called like mud to stone or something along those lines. I'm gonna look it up because it was so obscure. Let's see.
I think we forgot Wall of Force too, where all the Red Wizards were preventing people from running away.
Oh,
There was, yeah, that's right.
There's a
There were
lot.
so many spells. There were just so many spells. I have a question about Zank that I didn't understand. What did he do to keep himself from turning undead when he was a little kid? He had the little mark. Like, what is that about?
His Thayan tattoos.
I thought he didn't have them, and then he did something and had it. Did I misunderstand?
Maybe he made his saving throw with advantage. I don't know.
He was also like undead or something.
Yeah.
Like he was, because they told him he'd lived a long time too, right? Like there's something going on, and yeah, like they were like something about like you look really good for your age or something when they caught up with them, the bad guys. I don't know.
Well, I know that he didn't get the tattoo until like the zombies like grabbed him, but he got away.
Yeah, but there was some scene where he does something.
Fully been succumbed to the red mist. So.
Yeah,
right. But like, did he have to like do something to keep it from getting him? Like he's partially undead or something?
I don't know. Who knows? That spell's transmute rock. It will allow you to transmute rock to mud or mud to rock, is what I was thinking of.
Let's see what it says on the wiki.
Yeah.
I just want to know. I was very curious. I felt like we missed something there, and I don't know that we were supposed to understand it, but like I wanted to understand it, if that makes sense.
So the tattoo just indicates that he's a Thayan and is the symbol of Saz-Tam, according to the wiki.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes
sense.
So
maybe he did subject to a little bit of the red mist, but something saved him.
Something going on
divine
there.
intervention of some sort.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Way to save. I like that answer.
I'll say he had advantage.
Because like the dead people come after him and he doesn't die, so it's like what?
Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't explained super well.
Which is fine. I'm fine with them not explaining it. I just want to know more. He's half Thayan and therefore half dead, is what Chiba's saying in the chat. Allegedly.
Yeah. I hope they make another one. Honestly, I hope they make more. I hope it did well enough that they could make more movies, because I will watch them.
I do not have high hopes, but I hope so as well. Because I had a blast watching it.
Yeah, I don't have like box office numbers or anything like that, but I enjoyed it.
Is it time? Can I go? Can I do it?
For
costumes?
What? Yeah, do it. Yeah, costumes, go.
Let's do it.
I want to talk about the costumes, you guys. For those that don't know, I love costumes. I love making costumes. I love talking shit about bad costumes. It's like my favorite pastime in the whole world. So we're going to talk about some costumes. I thought the costumes were really surprisingly good in this movie.
They were very good.
This is the type of movie where you do not expect them to be good. You expect the girls to be in some, I know they're not going to go for chainmail bikini, but you're expecting some boob plate action, and you're expecting some like very like the only person with boob plates was freaking Zenk with his muscly armor, but they did make it that way back in the day. That was like a common thing. So I loved the color palettes. Each character had a distinct color palette, which is really smart because if you're in this industry at all, people like to cosplay as your characters. Give them a distinct color palette. It's also really smart for just like seeing, for the audience to recognize characters on screen if there's a strong color palette. The materials they used looked really good. Everything looked really well made. It was properly weathered. It looked like it was actually worn. It looked like it actually fit. They did a really smart thing with Michelle Rodriguez where she's wearing a crop top piece of armor over another piece of armor, which allows you to still see her waist and her figure, which does this interesting trick of making the top half of her look bulkier and makes her look stronger than she even is, because she's meant to be even stronger than like a normal human. They just did a really good job. Every character's costume says exactly who that character is. And they may have made the worst sin in costuming. It's really hard to tell. I think Doric has lifts in her shoes, possibly full wedges, but what they did is they hid them within the boots and made sure that it's not obvious. So even if they're there, you can't tell. A lot of costumers like to put women in heels because it makes your posture look better. The problem is nobody's fighting in heels. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What's worse than fighting in heels? Because heels actually can be fought in. They try to fix it by like, oh, women will get mad if we put them in heels because that's sexist. So they put them in wedges. You know what shoes you absolutely cannot fight in? Wedges. So they may have made that horrible sin, but they used leather paneling to disguise it and make it look like it was just an interesting shaped boot, which works really well for her character. And they did that for both the female characters. So I suspect that they are wearing some sort of wedge heel in there, but it doesn't matter because whoever's doing the costuming understood that they needed to hide that. So I'm just like, oh, I'm in love with the costumes of this movie. Absolutely in love with them. They did a fantastic job. I honestly could not be happier about the costumes.
You mentioned color coordinating, and one thing I forgot to mention is that the original party from the D&D cartoon was in the movie as well.
Oh yeah, they have a little cameo. That was
they
great.
Had a little cameo at the end of the maze. And you notice because they're all color coordinated like they were in the cartoon.
Yeah. And the other team looked like some generic badass edgelord characters that every player wants to make, which I thought was kind of funny too. But no, the costuming was good. I thought the idea of having a red wizard that would still be wearing her red wizard cloaks, but just using magic to hide them was such a cool way to do that. I loved her costume. I loved the tattoos. They gave her like a really modern construction on her costume, which a lot of times they'll do in costuming to make someone look out of place, but they didn't take it too far to where it felt anachronistic toward, I know it's a fictional time period, so it doesn't actually matter, but it didn't feel weird. It didn't feel out of place. It felt planned and it felt really elegant, I thought. I think I just talked really fast about all the costumes. Did you guys have anything to say?
I thought they were great.
I talked fast when I'm excited.
You were very excited. VS, you have a question. Do you think the jokes, tropes, and nods to the game work for this single film? Or could they make more films and capture the same feel? I'm going to go back to what we heard as a description of Guardians of the Galaxy, but fantasy. I think that there's plenty of more tropes and things that they could explore in another film if they wanted to and make it not feel the same. Because there's many different aspects about D&D, different player types, different tropes, different monsters. I feel like there's plenty left on the drawing board if they wanted to go back to it. My opinion anyway. What about you guys? Are you all?
I think they could easily do it if they wanted to. The problem is that Hollywood rarely wants to do things that, because they'll go, oh, well, the first movie is successful, so it has to be the same characters and the same villain and the same things, and we have to kind of do the same jokes. That's my fear, is that if they do want to do it, it's not going to work the second time around. Not because it couldn't, but because people will, because capitalism all along.
The real BBEG.
Yeah.
So they left enough foundation to do another movie or two, especially with like Tam was just in the background. He was just a shadow character of
true.
Potentially big lead up for a big villain like Tam. And the ending of the film, you know, they're still together. They're hanging out in the Emerald Grove or whoever those people are, and so it felt open-ended where they could continue the story. And there's plenty of more tropes and jokes and monsters that they haven't even touched yet.
And especially if they get the same creative team, that the team clearly understands D&D and plays it clearly.
Speaking of more monsters, Zeus is saying if you're able to put one monster into a second film, what would you put in it and why? Two things come to mind for me. I don't know, you said one, but I'm gonna say two because I can. Shambling Mound be really interesting in the movie, or a basilisk, because I could see like the similar trope of like don't let it look at you kind of thing, and have like a nice.
I was gonna say a Medusa.
Yeah, so like a basilisk having that same terminology thing.
Yeah. I think either of those could be really cool, because that's like, then the characters have to think of an interesting way to combat it, which I think is more visually pleasing than just straight up combat sometimes.
Yeah,
agreed.
I'm trying to think.
I was gonna say troll, because they need fire damage because trolls regenerate. So
that'd be cool.
That partying adventure doesn't look like they're very knowledgeable about those types of things. So them figuring out how to deal with the troll who's regenerating would be pretty fun.
I would like to see a different type of dragon, like one of the more like maybe it's a good dragon, like a friendly, like a chromatic.
Like
I mean, not a chromatic. Yeah, like a metallic.
Yeah, metallic.
I think that'd be kind of cool and interesting.
They kind of did copper with the statue, but it wasn't a true copper dragon.
It wasn't a true one. I'd like to see them actually converse with one and have it like. I don't know. I think there's some cool stuff they could do there. I think like some of the classics, like a bugbear or something, could be cool.
Yeah,
just like classic ones.
A Zorn would be hilarious.
That would require some more Underdark adventures, probably.
Yeah, but I'd like to see.
They could get into Dwergar.
I'd like to see Fae. I'd like to see more Fae creatures, so they could do a Fae movie.
They did show a satyr in the arena.
Yeah.
There was a satyr in one of the other parties.
That's true. I mean, I know you wanted to see a
beholder.
No, you wanted to see a
mind flayer,
which would be really cool.
That's the thing about those monsters of like beholders and like mind flayers is that once you get into that, like that has to be the bad guy, right?
Yeah,
I feel like you
like
just
an aboleth, it has to be the bad guy.
Yeah, you just can't like show them and then be like, all right, there they go, see you later.
What about the monster that we fought? I always forget its name. It's the one with all the elements that Bryn and Ron and Valkan and Vin fought.
That was made up.
All the legs? No.
Oh, like the actual monster that comes from
one you based on. It'd be cool to see something monstrous and huge that's just not super intelligent, but like is very deadly. Could be really cool.
Yeah, Rimmeraz is what you're thinking of.
Or a Bullet. Those two would be pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Just an inkling of like a Torask maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could be in the background walking, like they don't actually engage in Torask.
Like Torask is like that's like world-ending.
Yeah.
Shit.
Or, Dragon Turtle would be cool to see.
Dragon Turtle,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see. This is definitely not a monster, but I would like to see a really well done like find familiar spell.
Oh yeah.
Either like a little fae or any of them would be really cool. Actually, I think something like that could be like really cool. Whether it's a good guy or a villain that had it, I think you could do a lot with that.
That would be an easy win for them. Like a good guy or a bad guy. Easy having a little familiar.
Either way, it's good. Yeah,
yes.
And like you can conjure it, so they can show that it's magic, which will be like, oh, cool. Instead of them just having like a pet, it's like different, right?
That's a great idea.
All right, last question, so we can wrap things up. But what class would you like to see if they made another movie? They didn't have in this one.
Warlock.
Yeah,
but
Warlock.
Good.
I was gonna say monk to do crazy.
I think monks can easily border on too tropey and offensive if not done right. And I think there's so many movies that already like kind of speak that visual language that'd be really hard to make it work well in a unique. I'm not saying it can't be done. I just like if I were working on this movie, that would make me nervous. Like to approach that.
I agree with you. Warlock. Give me some patron action.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
Some creepy patron stuff. Shit. Just like weird shit. I want some weird shit. Like I don't know. I just think that'd be really cool. I also think though it'd be really cool to see like an artificer in that world to show that like the show the kind of like the magitech side of things too. Like that there is like this sort of weird steampunky like I think something like that could be really cool too to see. And it's something that you really wouldn't need to explain. Like you just show them like fixing the device with a wrench and then it casts magic and it's like okay, I get it. I as the viewer get it.
I don't know if we'll step into that because artificers are supposed to be Eberron.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Throw in Warforges. I don't care. This is cool stuff.
Oh, Warforge would be really cool.
I'd love to see it. I don't know if because they were so deep rooted. Like this is Forgotten Realms. This is where we are. So I don't know if they would cross those streams, but Warlock, I'm here for it. You can even downplay the patron to where, like, as someone's talking to the characters, zoom in on their face and have them hear some weird patron shit, and then it's like, oh, what? I didn't hear you. Like, just like play it off. It'd be great.
I mean, if we want to be spicy, I'll just say bard.
Like a
real bard, yeah.
But I also think a cleric could be cool because, like, it's kind of done. It's kind of a trope, but I could see them like subverting it in some ways that would be interesting. But I still think 100% just warlock. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed the movie. I think we already gave our
I want to
ratings
keep
earlier.
I just want to talk
Yeah,
about it
we'll
all night.
redo it.
Like,
I give it 8 out of 10 memes.
8 out of 10 memes. I'm still at a 7.5. I'm if they had just edited a little bit, it'd probably get me up to like an 8.5. But
Whoa,
oh my
the
gosh,
Magic
hello.
Academy! Thank you so much for the raid.
Thank you so much
Thank
for rating.
you.
If you didn't see the D&D movie yet, we just finished talking about it, so it's spoiler free. We just gave it our ratings. 8 out of 10 mimics for me, but we call our mimics
8 out of 10 for me, for sure.
7.5 for Bunny.
Very fun. And I think high rewatchability factor. This will be spoiler free chat for everybody that's showing up now. This is totally spoiler free. Don't worry. But I think that this is one of those movies where if you enjoy it, you're going to enjoy it on a second or third viewing too. I'm hoping it gets one of those things where D&D nerds are like, if you're a huge World of Warcraft player, you watch the World of Warcraft movie every so often with your friends and you unashamedly love it. I'm hoping this is that for D&D players where they're just like, every year we give it a watch and we have a beer and we love it. I hope there's a director's cut and I already got toys for it, so that's a good sign, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for the raid.
Yeah, thank you so much, Magic Academy. Everybody go check them out. Thanks for bringing your folks over here. And we're just having our nice Tome of Knowledge, our Monday podcast, so we can. It's not fully immersed D&D, so we can actually talk and hang out and chill with you all.
Welcome on in, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Why should they? We should. What am I trying to say? Words. April 21st. What's going on there, Max?
Yes. So if you're just joining, a couple things. First off, if you don't have us on YouTube, go check us out there because we're almost to 1,000 subscribers there when we can have fun things like emotes and all that. But if you're just joining us, if you didn't know, our first campaign ended. Sad face. It's okay because April 21st.
We won, to be fair.
April 21st at 6 p.m. Pacific, we are starting campaign 2. Very excited about it, and it's going to be fantastic. So you definitely don't want to miss that. So April 21st, 6 p.m. That is like a week and some change away.
11 sleeps,
exactly. So we'll have some fun things on socials. Going through a little bit of teasers for the new characters. We also have a new cast member. So it's going to be a fantastic time.
We also have art stream tomorrow.
Yes.
Yay, art stream.
At 7 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to see some of the new characters for campaign 2, I'm going to be working on the character art live.
Yeah.
So come hang out, keep me company while I draw, and I don't know. Yeah. Here on this channel. We're drawing here on this channel live. So follow this channel, follow us on YouTube, and come watch art tomorrow.
Yeah. So I feel bad because we were just wrapping up our whole discussion about the movie. It's good if you like D&D, go see it. Is what we'll say. Just keep it spoiler free.
We're all of us on the board here. Highly recommend.
On the board.
I don't know,
the board. Yeah, the board.
The board.
He likes it too. He said so.
Yeah, 3 borks or 4 borks out of 5.
4 borks, 5 borks. Yeah.
But anyway, thank you all so much, Magic Academy. I appreciate you bringing your people over here. We do have to go though. We just wrapped up our talk about the D&D movie, and I don't want to go too far into it if you haven't seen it yet because we had some spoiler warnings at the beginning. But if you want to listen to what we had, what we talked about, we'll also have it on podcast format. So if you get to watch the movie and come back and hear what we think about it. But for the night, thank you so much. Hope you all enjoyed the conversation. Go watch the movie if you haven't. It's really good. And then we're going to leave you all with our newest cast member. She's playing Heroes of the Storm right now, but Kid Kerrigan, also known as Nina, is going to be joining our campaign. She'll be our 5th player character. So go check her out, say hi, and then we will see you all tomorrow for the art stream, 7 p.m. Pacific. So see you then. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.